My first guest on the program is the president of the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Kiran Singh. The question is, can San Fernando become the envy of the business community here in Trinidad and Tobago? Mr. Singh is with us virtually. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be on your program this morning, on this bright early Monday morning. We had several discussions with the business community recently as to how we aim to engender business and bring business back to San Fernando. So we've just come out of the pandemic, couple months going, and what we've noticed is that there's been a somewhat slow interest and increase in business activity around the country. And of course, we want that to happen in San Fernando. And what we have noticed that there have been some sparks of interest of business increase in San Fernando with Rattan's expanding to the bottom of High Street during the pandemic, actually, just over a year ago. Pennywise also expanded their branch to Lower High Street, bringing activity to the lower part of High Street that was somewhat quiet. We also had an expansion of business to the top of High Street on Point Road. So that gives some encouragement to potential investors and business persons looking to enter the arena of business and commerce. Because we see, of course, there are a lot of buildings for rent and for sale and so on. And it could be somewhat of a discouraging factor to the person intending to enter into commerce. And what we want to do is offer special promotions, interests. We have embarked on a program actually for business members, a discount card, so that when you enter a store that is participating in the promotion that we have, you get an automatic discount of 10, 20%, 30%, depending on the nature of the goods or service being offered. And your certificate is probably displayed on your storefront or the window or the door to your premises. And this adds some credence to networking within businesses in the southern region, not necessarily just the downtown area of San Fernando, which of course takes the highlight of commercial activity and retail activity, but it spreads to the entire southern region of the country. And of course, we take that nationwide over the coming weeks and months.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Singh, you suggested that the goal is to make San Fernando once more the envy of the business community. I mean, at what point in time, if ever, was San Fernando an envious entity in terms of business across Trinidad and Tobago, and what led to its demise?
We were the industrial capital. That is no secret, especially during the heyday of the Point-a-Pier refinery in full operation. And we benefited from the oil wealth and gas subsequent to that. Of course, that slowed down due to global economic factors as well. We were impacted negatively by that. While we remain a global player in the gas and oil, we remain subject to the prices set by the OPEC and the other countries that are large producers of energy products and the downstream industries that support this fossil fuel. So what we noticed is that the pandemic, of course, there was a total shutdown of the economy, and San Fernando suffered as a result. And everyone knows that San Fernando was the hub of retail activity, commerce, some years ago, within our own generation. That has somewhat subsided, and we aim to revive commercial activity in San Fernando. And businesses want this opportunity to act in the commercial field that they would have been somewhat thrown back. Port of Spain continues to command a lot of attention with a lot of corporate headquarters in Port of Spain. Even in the oil and gas, the headquarters are based in Port of Spain, although the generation of the wealth come from the south of the country. And we want to engender some discussion to change that for the benefit of Southerners, of course.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've also suggested and advised that business owners should not focus on the doom and gloom. What renders such advice? I mean, especially considering that you yourself, in the most recent past, have lamented the current state of affairs, be it the crime and economic factors.
Crime, of course, continues to be a scourge on our society. It affects everyone. Business of course, feel they have become easy prey and targets to the criminal element. But what we focus in on, or what we want to focus on is, while we are having discussions with the top echelons of the police service, we want to engender a greater discussion among the defense force and the police service to see how we can protect our society, protect our business people. Uh, we shouldn't have to hear reports in the media from victims that it takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes for the TTPS to respond to a victim of a crime. The stations are not that far away from, they're geographically placed within the districts, so that they can reach a victim in a very short space of time. And so the public has become very tired of hearing that there's no police car available. But then we understand there are a lot of motorcycles that are placed in some stations, and certainly some sort of mode of transport could be utilized to assist a victim. I mean, the motto of the police service is to protect and serve. And our members are saying that we're not seeing this service level coming from the TTPS. And we need to get that greater level of confidence coming for us from the TTPS, the Defense Force. We have a lot of idle resources. If we could have some sort of joint army patrols, if the legislation has to be changed for that to be enacted, maybe we should look at that too. It has become very disheartening for everyone, literally, when we open the newspaper, when we look at social media, about the level of crime that is a fact upon us. And while we try not to focus on the negative, because it deters business activity, we all know that there's a direct relationship between a decrease in business activity when there's an increase in criminality. And while it's easy to point to problems that plague us, we should be solution-based driven in how we come to finding answers to these difficult questions as we go about our daily lives, trying to put food on the tables for our employees. We remain a significant employer of workers in the country after the government, and the businesses, especially within the small and medium enterprise sector, feel that they're more easy targets because of the fact that they have less capital to employ in terms of security guards, security cameras, the burglar proof, and all the other security assets and tools that go into protecting oneself, your home, and their business. And of course, that brings the question of home invasions, which have increased exponentially within recent times. And the announcement by the Commissioner of Police that we should have a decrease in crime within a matter of weeks. The criminals obviously have taken that heed and have ramped up their activity, while we wait to see the positive results of what happens with the TTPS in terms of stamping out the criminal element that is affecting us so negatively in our society.
Well, it certainly is not easy to sway away from the doom and gloom. I mean, how much more conversations with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service or by extension the Defence Force need to take place? I understand that you are the body of the Greater San Fernando Chamber of Commerce is always in communication with the TTPS. But let's take a look at another entity, the Minister of National Security, and his comments last week about a crime plan. There doesn't seem to be much confidence or good news going around, is it?
Unfortunately, no. I know that the minister did make some statements after that statement. So we expect that there would be some discussion coming out of the National Security Council. The Commissioner of Police sits in that committee together with the Security Minister and the Prime Minister. And we expect that there will be some sort of plan coming forward, or more plans coming forward out of the Commissioner's office, I mean, her office really is responsible for the creation and formulation of the crime plans. But sometimes it is important for those in authority to also make statements to give the confidence to society that there's proactive uh, action and means being taken to address issues that are national based when it is being discussed on a daily basis through the length and breadth of the country.
Well, let's get back to the topic with respect to making San Fernando the envy of the business community once more. As president of the the GSFCC, have you or the body as a whole identified any solutions to the obstacles that are the challenges that you all are facing and trying to get that level of development that is required, or the upgrading that is required to make San Fernando an envious business hub?
Well, we could look at customs as a start, where it still remains a challenge to get your goods from the various ports on a timely basis. We have advocated for extended hours at the customs borders of entry for goods, seaport and the airports. Uh, and there should be some mechanism worked out where officers can work, or we should employ more staff to facilitate a greater trade. Because as we approach Christmas, and now is the time when businesses would start planning to import their various goods to prepare for the busy Christmas shopping season. And of course, um, uh, that follows the Diwali season and the other Christmas, the other shopping seasons that happen along the way. Mother's Day is a couple of weeks away, and the school shopping season as well. That businesses are able to facilitate that trade, to have their goods in place. The container stripping station, we understand the scanners weren't working. We hope that that has been resolved to facilitate a smoother entry and exit of goods within the country. And of course, within the San Fernando context, because this affects San Fernando as well as the entire country. We know that the San Fernando waterfront is going full speed ahead in terms of the road widening network, and that will bring in an easy congestion of traffic in and out of San Fernando, as well as encourage businesses to look to San Fernando to expand their businesses. We see that there has been interest in expanding business within the borders of San Fernando, and of course, we welcome that and encourage that as we enter the second quarter of 2023.
Well, you've also mentioned that SMEs could learn lessons from the more established businesses. I know that earlier in this interview you mentioned Pennywise and Ratton's, their expansion in San Fernando. But if we focus on SMEs for a moment, precisely what lessons can they learn? What advice would you give to them? And furthermore, I mean, how could you expect them to expand, given the current economic conditions? Even the ease of doing business, establishing your business is one thing, being able to operate it is a completely different story. So how could we expect expansion if even surviving their current state and their current form is proving to be extremely difficult?
There's a lot of logistical challenges when dealing with the state, from registering your own business, to register your name, to register your to submit your articles of association, your bylaws, and so on. It could be quite time consuming, and even to get a certificate of character has been a topical issue within recent times because of the fact that the machinery at the TTPS wasn't functioning. And there's a lot of other factors that have increased our challenges with how we do business in this country. And it has decreased our level on the scale of ease of doing business on a worldwide statistical level when we look at how business is done. And when a potential investor from outside is looking in and he or she wants to invest in the country, they will look at all these factors that interact with us and how we succeed and overcome these things, from the to renew a driver's license, to apply for your ID card, all these very basic uh, identification uh, commodities that we need on a personal level and on a company level. It can be quite cumbersome in terms of how we deal with it over the period of time, and we need to address that. The public sector, that's why we have been saying the public sector reform has to be engaged in a more aggressive manner, so that when we have to do basic things like these, it can be expedited, and it encourages a young person especially to get into business. Because when he hears about these stories about it takes so long to get this done and get his business up and running, it could be somewhat discouraging and disheartening for the young individual who wants to enter the entrepreneurial field.
I think what you've just mentioned, is there such a thing as the ease of doing business? It seems as though the ease of doing business is a statement which doesn't make sense or apply to Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, it's a phrase that has been bandied about for some time, and certain statisticians will use this barometer to gauge how well certain countries do in business. So if you look at tourism as another sector of the economy, where we have the other islands dependent on tourism almost 100% for their income, we don't rely so much on tourism. And if we were to engage, if we were to say that we wanted tourism to be our main source of income, our whole mindset would have to change. Our cultural approach to tourism would have to improve, as opposed to what it is now. We are still oil and gas based. The discussion on diversification has been ongoing for many years, and we have passed through different governments, and we are still not at the point where we can say that we have diversified to the point where we are not oil and gas dependent. We at one point, we didn't have to import the level of food that we do at this point in time. We were able to feed ourselves. That is no longer the case. A lot of goods that we use to produce within the geographical boundaries of our country are no longer so. We have to import it literally by the hundreds of tons on a yearly basis for us to survive. And we have to move away from that.
Well, do you agree with the mayor of San Fernando, His Worship Junior Regrello, his comments regarding business owners have the money but lack the vision?
Some business owners need to step up their game. There's no two ways about that. You will a simple drive through the streets will show that some businesses need to improve. There is a competition between downtown San Fernando and the super malls, the mega malls that exist within the urban areas of San Fernando. And sometimes it means investing some more. But the discussion that comes from, or the opinions you will hear from smaller businesses is just coming out of the pandemic, they would have utilized all the resources to continue to pay their utilities, continue to pay their loan obligations, their insurance commitments. So it has left them in somewhat of a predicament to get that investment flow into the smaller businesses. The large conglomerates and the corporate type of business have the resources to upgrade their signage and improve on their advertisements and so on. But we think it will be a matter of time, but certainly from the San Fernando Chamber, we are encouraging businesses they have to invest in their own premises and they retooling their workers to improve their standard of business, their way of doing business, so that there will be an encouragement for customers to walk into stores in downtown San Fernando as opposed to heading automatically to the super malls that exist outside of downtown.
Final question, Mr. Singh, and thank you very much for joining me this morning on the program. In the short to medium term, do you see any improvement or any significant improvement to business in San Fernando or perhaps Trinidad and Tobago as a whole?
I like the question. We remain optimistic that business will improve. We have come out of the pandemic. We have survived. Unfortunately, some of the smaller ones were not able to be resuscitated. But we remain positive that we are now coming out of the pandemic. We are now going to blossom. There will be some improvement in business. There's been some sparks of interest in expanding in the retail area. We have some interest coming out in agriculture in terms of hydroponics for the youths, and that could happen within the city center for certain properties where the youths can benefit from that. And of course, we feed ourselves. And of course, we have some light manufacturing that is up and coming in terms of solar panel manufacturing, to give an example. And all this is happening within the southern region, within the city limits of the country of and the city of San Fernando. And this is, of course, encouraging. And we need to keep that beacon of hope, if I could use that phrase, to encourage the youths to get into business. The government is strapped to employ additional people as it once did. So we need to find alternative ways of generating income through legal means, not through committing crime. And this is how our society will improve. There's a synergistic relationship between the business community and the society. And if we are all civil, and we could have a very unique, harmonious relationship, which will embolden the youths to be positive in their approach when they leave school to succeed in life.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Kiran Singh, President of the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, thank you very much for joining me this morning, sir, and all the very best.
Thank you very much for having me on your program, and Trinidad and Tobago, be safe out there.
Have a good day, sir.